heard you talk a little bit about it and other people, but Jim Ross flat out said that WWE was subsidizing ECW.
Well, yeah, that's not been of a thing that was open to question, was it? Still?
Well, Paul claims it was a little different.
Boy, start any sentence with those two words. Paul claims.
Doesn't Paul E. claim that the only thing that could be considered subsidized would be when WWE took Too Cold Scorpio, made him Flash Funk, that Paul E. apparently had a deal with Tommy Boy Records for Scorpio music, and this would ruin the plan, so Vince paid him the difference that he would have been owed from Tommy Boy Records.
All I'm saying is I was sitting there when Bruce, I don't remember whether Tommy's records were involved or Billy's records or Susie's records or anybody else's record collection. Bruce was there one day. We were sitting at the table and he was telling Vince that, well, now we've got Scorpio and we've taken some of Paul's talent. And I guess he's lost, and maybe he did mention he's lost this sponsorship or whatever. He didn't, I guarantee you he didn't go into any detail on Tommy Boy Records, or Vince would have zoned out even worse than I just did. But the point is, Vince said, fuck it, put him down for $1,000 a week because we took his talent. And Bruce wrote his little note down, and that was not a for such and such time or until it reaches such and such amount. Said put him down for $1,000 a week. And I was like, well, fuck, if I'd have known it was that easy, I'd have been asking you about this from Tennessee a year and a half ago or whatever. But nevertheless.
So how do you think Vince McMahon saw ECW? And how knowledgeable at all was he of ECW and what it was and Paul Heyman?
Well, see, that's again, he never saw any of it. He never watched any of it because he never watched any other wrestling besides what he was producing. He knew that Bruce liked Paul, and he knew that there was talent there and that Paul was trying to do, as he would have termed it, you know, and I don't even think Vince wouldn't even have used the term independent. That wasn't a wrestling term. It just, Vince would have known that Paul was trying to run his own company, just like I was, and he was respectful of that. And if he had first Bruce and then to a much greater extent, Shitstain, telling him, oh, how great this stuff is and how, you know, revolutionary it is, and there it's for the young people or whatever, but they didn't actually ever show him any because his fucking brain would have exploded if he'd have seen some of the diving off of scaffolds, frogs splashing garbage cans through ladders on fire, whatever the fuck. And I've mentioned before, just when they showed that Bill Alfonso and Beulah match where Fonzie hit a fucking artery and literally bathed in blood, and they're having the intergender shit and they're dropping fucking what's her name on her head. I took the VHS. I said, just so you see what you're getting into. And I played it for Vince. That's the first bit of ECW he'd ever seen. He's like, huh. But it didn't matter because they basically, by that point, they figured, well, we can have a pipeline of talent here that we can keep away from WCW. So since Paul was running television, it was kind of like a fucking stumbling block that they could put in front of Atlanta by him channeling his guys to them when he was done with them, and or maybe sometimes before, and or giving them a place to potentially send some people so that they wouldn't leave completely the fold and go to Atlanta. And that for about a year and a half, that's what they were thinking about. And then, you know, WWE business was so hot at that point that I don't know if he got that $1,000 a week all the way until they closed up, but it was for a while there till I was gone.
And whose idea was the ECW Raw in New York?
Either Bruce's or Shitstain's, because it's not like I was pitching we should work with ECW, and I don't think at that point JR didn't care what we were going to do, but it wasn't like he was saying, oh, this will be a great thing. It was whoever was appealing to Vince's known mental state that New York is the center of the world, and somebody said, oh, these guys have a counterculture type audience and they can make, if we get something going with them in New York at this ballroom that they used to shoot their show in, then all the underground wrestling fans will be talking about it. And I said that's the extent that Vince really knew what the fuck. He would deal with Paul E on a fucking businessman basis, but he didn't know what the fuck that promotion was doing, nor did he care.